This is Nick Mielke, and on this episode of ATG Cast, we bring you Podcast of the Whills and the second episode of our Return of the Jedi Canon Study series with Mr. Chris Ryons. Grace, peace, and welcome to Podcast of the Whills, a podcast that treats Star Wars like a sacred text, and now a part of the ATG Cast feed. If you are new to the feed, if you're a regular listener to ATG Cast, you're going to know there's a lot of exciting things going on right now. My podcast, Podcast of the Whills, has joined up with Pete and the Around the Galaxy podcast, as well as his weekly Disturbances in the Force 5-minute news show that you get every Saturday. No clickbait, no spin, just the news, all the latest happenings in Star Wars. And also, because there's so much great streaming Disney Plus content going on right now, you're also going to get, as a part of the ATG Cast feed, Streaming Star Wars, a live Friday night sports talk radio style show where we break down the most recent episode of Book of Boba Fett. We talk about all the things that are going on in Disney and in the streaming world of the Star Wars universe, and we look ahead to what's coming up and what are we looking forward to. It's a great time on a Friday night to pour yourself a drink, listen to some friends have a conversation, and be a part of that conversation yourself in the live chat. So we hope you check that out on YouTube. But if you don't catch it live, you can always catch the audio version in the podcast stream so you can keep up with all the different things that we're talking about. My guest this week is Mr. Chris Ryons. You know Chris as one of the hosts of the Broaxium network and all the different shows that they have over there. You may also know Chris as the voice of Lando Calrissian in the Blue Bantha Milk AI-created series of movies and scripts, and also the Calrissian Chronicles. Chris has also been a part of the Star Wars audio comic starring as Lando. And of course, also, most recently, Chris has become a part of the Auralnauts team as Finn. So changing it up a little bit, but he is a man of many talents, many thoughts, many insights. He's a comic book expert, and he is at his core a lover of Star Wars. So I'm excited for you to get to hear this conversation with Mr. Chris Ryons. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure. I have wanted to have you on for a while, and we were actually talking, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. I had an early show because I had Mark Newbold on from the UK, and so I was done by the time you guys started on Sunday nights, and we always joke about how we're always missing each other because we're usually on at the same time.
Yeah.
And I was watching and in the live chat, and I just made some smart aleck comment because it had gotten out of hand early. And so I basically said, you need to kick everybody else out and just let me come hang out. And like 2 seconds later, I got the link and you're like, get in here. So I got to come hang out.
That's right.
Impromptu, which I loved. But yeah, I love what you guys do on Shooting the Poodoo. And it's one of those fun shows that, you know, just to hang out and watch. And again, it's clear that it's a group of people who love to hang out and love to laugh and talk about, you know, the things that you love. And it's not always Star Wars. There's, you know, lots of pop culture that goes on, you know, within that group. And so it's a really fun community. And I would certainly say one of the more positive, fun communities in this Star Wars space that we all tend to ping pong around.
Yeah. And that's the goal. And I'm so glad, like, you know, this past year, I've been able to meet, like, you know, so many of you guys, you know, like Matt and Sean from Blue Bantha Milk, Pete, you, Alex, you know, everyone. And it's just, this is the type of community that I would love that I love dealing with, right. You know, within the Star Wars fandom. Cause you know, it gets real, it's real dicey on other parts of the community. So
it is.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things, and we've talked about this, you know, online, offline, in lots of different places, but it really is, you know, I see some parallels certainly in some of the through lines and language in the sequel trilogy when it comes to like the toxic nature of what Star Wars fandom can be, what Star Wars Twitter can be. And the reality is, and we're seeing it right now, even with, you know, this Quantic Dreams and Star Wars Eclipse stuff. Yeah. There's more of us than there are them. And so what it takes is us doing what we see, and it's just people. It's just us. Like, you and I are funny guys, but we're not that special. But when we show up with all of our other friends who are also like us, then we get that big moment at the end of either Endgame or the end of Rise of Skywalker where everybody shows up and we go, there's not room for you here. And we crowd out, we crowd out the darkness with the light. We can use all the Star Wars analogies we want. And I certainly want to say that the stuff that you're doing, not only with Broaxium, what you're doing with Blue Bantha Milk, like that stuff is fun. It's silly, but it's fun and it's positive. It's not negative. And getting to know Sean and Matt a little bit as well, they have those same values. Absolutely. They don't have tolerance for the nonsense. This is supposed to be fun. Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's our after school special moment to get the episode started is, don't be an a-hole. That's what we're going with.
That is the thing.
So it's not that hard, really.
I'm keeping an eye on the kids right now.
That's right. It's like the baby monitor.
Just watching them.
I like that. I like that. That's right. Just, it's like the Ring cameras checking in from home to make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to.
That's right.
Well, let's do this before we jump into our study a little bit. It's very possible that I have some listeners to Podcast of the Whills that may not know Chris Ryons. So give us a little bit of kind of overall, who are you, general background? Tell us about Chris.
Wow, where do I start? Let's see. Been a Star Wars fan my entire life. I was 2 when it came out. It's defined my life. It is absolutely my religion. And as far as getting into being a content creator and all that, I spent the first I said like around 2014, 2015. That's when I really started like watching Star Wars YouTube channels and things like that. And I saw so much negativity and as things went on, as time went on, people like, I was really all about Finn when Force Awakens was announced and all that stuff. And no one was talking about Finn. It was all Rey this, Rey that. And with good, with good meaning, because she's an amazing character. And there was only one person, and that's my friend Prince Bell from Urban Acolyte, and he was the only one that was doing the Finn stuff. And he inspired me to want to get into maybe doing Star Wars content and everything. And then around 2018, Dan Miller, he and I were a part of a Star Wars group. We were admins of the Star Wars group on Facebook called the Alliance of Star Wars Fanatics. And he came to me because he saw that I was doing reviews, like short reviews for comics, like, a day or so before they came out. And he's like, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a YouTube channel and do this as a video kind of thing? And at the time, my father had recently passed away, and I didn't want to do anything as far as being on camera or anything like that. I was just not ready. So I think he came to me with that, I think maybe March or April. And then around August is when we really got, or July is when we really got started. July 2018 is when we really got started with it. And then October, we brought out our first video. So, and also when it comes to Star Wars fandom, I'm easy like Sunday morning. It doesn't take much to like, if it's got a Star Wars logo on it, it's aces with me. It's aces with me. I embrace it all. I love it all. Even parts of the holiday special.
Sure.
Ewoks cartoon. I'm trying, Nick.
Trying as best you can.
Trying. Even as a kid, I was like, this is
it's not working.
But I'm like, it's Star Wars. I'm gonna love it. So,
Yeah, and I relate to that. I think I'm 3 years younger than you, so I've had Star Wars my entire life as well. I was a year old. No, Star Wars came out the year before I was born. Sorry. But yeah, so same thing. Like I grew up with the Ewoks cartoons and the Droids cartoons, and I don't know that I would have remembered seeing the holiday special, but even hearing about it pre-internet, like it was a rumored thing. And like, I'm sure like somebody I knew had it on videotape from the one time that it aired.
Right.
And then, of course, now we live in kind of this weird, funny digital age where, like, we can get it now. And if you want to watch it, you can go to YouTube. Even that horrifying updated HD version that they did. But you're right. Even if it doesn't always work, it's Star Wars. And that's what I've always kind of come back to. And especially in the echo chamber that Star Wars Twitter can be, where it's just people banging drums about stupid things. And all I want to say is, if you don't like it, why are you here? Like, I keep coming back to this very simple truth of, if you're mad, go somewhere else. Like, I wouldn't intentionally stay someplace where I'm mad. And I did as a younger, college student, living where I live, and my political ideals being vastly different than the majority of the people that I live around in the Deep South. There were radio shows, and I would listen. It was a hate watch before there was a hate watch. Like, I listened to, this radio show because it pissed me off. And at some point I just went, what am I doing? Like, if this is why I'm watching it or listening to it, it's time to go, because this is not a good use of my time.
Like, I'm a huge, being, we're around the same age. I'm a huge Transformers fan.
Absolutely.
And let me tell you, the venom and vitriol I may have thrown Michael Bay's way with those live action movies. And then after a while, I was like, I can't. I'm like, I'm just going to watch the 1986 movie and watch the old cartoons, and I'm good. And that should be the case with anyone who doesn't like the sequels, who doesn't like the prequels. They don't like anything new. They don't like any progress. Fine. Just watch what you like, and let us just enjoy what we got.
That's right. Well, and you bring up an interesting point that usually comes up when I have these conversations, which is, I was the exact right age, and for a little bit was one of the people that kind of took a dump on the prequels because they came out when I was halfway through college, and I saw them as a somewhat young adult. I wasn't really an adult yet, but I thought I was, and spent a good, period of time afterwards going, I don't recognize those. Those aren't Star Wars. That's not like, and now I'm going, ooh, gross. I can't believe I was that guy. But it really is, life has to happen to you, and a lot of different things have to happen, and you have to actually go through some things where you go, that's one, not a real problem. Two,
right.
I'm lucky I got Star Wars at all in the first place. And so I believe it's, Ken Knapsack or Scrimshaw, one of the two. I'm a reformed prequelist, and I do appreciate the prequels a lot more than I did when they came out.
Did the Clone Wars help you at all?
Clone Wars is an interesting thing for me because you're never too old. We're talking about Star Wars here. But like, when Clone Wars came out, when did Clone Wars come out? 05, 06? Maybe?
I want to say 2008.
Okay, so like, I was out of college, I was married, I was working, like, I knew they were around, but I didn't ever watch them. And so for me, and I say this all the time, and anybody that listens to this show has heard me say it 100 times, I came more to the Clone Wars because of Rebels. And I love Rebels with every fiber of my being. I love that show. It's some of the best modern Star Wars storytelling, in my opinion. And at some point, we're going to do like big drawn out canon studies about Rebels because there's so much I love in that. But what happened was there were episodes of Rebels where something happened and I went, I think that's a Clone Wars thing. So I used Clone Wars like a reference book. I would go back to it and watch the Mortis arc, or go back and watch the Darksaber stuff, or go back. And so like, I've seen it all. I really do still owe it to myself to do like a good full rewatch and get into it, because that's also something I appreciate a lot more now than I did at the time. But like, when season 7 came out and when Bad Batch, like, I was there for all of that. Now Ahsoka was a lot of the reason I was there for all of that. But Clone Wars was another one of those ones, like the bits and pieces I caught maybe when it was on, I just went, I don't know about this. Like, I wasn't sure, but I appreciate it way more now than I did at the time. Nice.
I tell you, Rebels was so special because whereas I don't question, because it's his creation, I don't question that's just me. I don't question what George Lucas does. I don't question, like, what he wants to do with his story. It's his story. He can do whatever he wants with it. And then once the acquisition happened, and they said, like, this Star Wars Rebels is going to be the first show of any kind, for the Disney version, the Disney Lucasfilm. And now at that point, we'd already had the comics. So I was like, okay, this is good. Yeah. This is good. And then I was like, all right, now let's see what they do with this is the test. I'm like, if this first episode winds up sucking, I'm going to, then I'm going to, I'll jump all on their, on them for blah, blah, blah. That episode came out. At the end of it, I was like, I've got nothing bad to say. Yeah. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. They passed with flying colors.
Yeah. Those first couple, the first two, if not the first 3 episodes of Rebels could be a little Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Like they really did. They launched it in such a good way. And I don't think I didn't catch it when it aired originally. Like I caught it like maybe second season somewhere.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
And I don't know. Again, I'm foggy on the details of how I got there, but then I got to the point where like I was caught up to real time and waiting for more, and of course was irritated that I had to wait on it. But it was another one of those things that my kids weren't old enough to appreciate any of it at that point, so it was truly something I was just watching for me. But yeah, from the beginning of when I started watching Rebels, I was just hooked, and it gets so good as it goes along. It really evolves. The characters evolve, the love I have for the people in that, in that Ghost crew is top notch. And I still maintain that it's my favorite of the Disney era Star Wars storytelling. And we've gotten a bunch of stuff that's really good. Yeah. But for me, the Rebels story is the best of all the stories.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think for me, and I probably say this a lot, but it's the Battlefront 2 story. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite.
Absolutely.
That's my favorite. Like Iden Versio, the whole Infernal Squad thing. That's like that's always been top tier for me.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So let me ask you this. We've talked a little bit about, you're getting started, getting plugged into content creating, some of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What are your first memories of Return of the Jedi? And I say this because, one, of course, we're talking about Return of the Jedi tonight. It's the focus of these shows right now. But when I was on with you doing Poodoo a couple weeks ago, and we were talking, and I think towards the end I was doing you were nice enough to let everybody plug, what do you got coming up? And I said, we're about to start Return of the Jedi. And very quickly you're like, I love Return of the Jedi. Like you leaned into the camera like, hey man, that's my jam.
Yeah.
And so it worked out perfectly that I was like, I've got to get him on the list. And I immediately wrote it on a piece of paper. And I think I messaged you right when we got done. I was like, hey, we're plugging you in. So it's clear you have a deep love for Return of the Jedi. Talk about Jedi and talk about your memories of when you first saw it, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So for Return of the Jedi, I was 8 years old when it came out. It was, I would say I was the most, I don't know if I'm using the right term, but cognizant for that one. Like when it came to Empire Strikes Back, my brother and I went to the theater to go see it. Sure. I had to ask him, like sometime last year, I had to ask my older brother, I said, what was our reaction? What was my reaction when the "No, I am your father"
the big happened?
Drop? And he said, we didn't believe it. We didn't believe it, and we didn't believe anything until, Return of the Jedi, as far as him being the father. When it came to Return of the Jedi, I think the first thing I saw was, and if you remember those Scholastic like storybooks and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely.
So I had the Return of the Jedi one, and just like, seeing Luke on the, it's Luke on the sail barge with his green lightsaber lit, and he's about to, go and fight some of the skiff guards and things like that. That image for me, for some reason in my 8-year-old head, or 7 maybe at the time, filled me with so much wonder of where, what could happen with this story, and seeing they're outside in the sand, and, Luke, back then we just call him Luke in the black suit. That was his name. That was his name with all my friends, Luke in the black suit doing his thing. That was just like, like I said, so much wonder. It filled me with so much like, oh man, what's going to happen? And, what new things are we going to see? It's I hate to say, I'm always like this when people do their rankings online and whatnot, and they go like, is the, Empire or this and that as their number one. For me, I've always said that they're all my number one. I love them all equally, but I watch Return of the Jedi 1,000 times more than any other Star Wars movie.
And I think that's a great way to look at it because, you know, everybody's first instinct on every podcast you've ever listened to about Star Wars is to make rank them. Let's rank them. Yeah. I forget who it was that said it, but, you know, somebody I think that was on Around the Galaxy one time said, I don't have, you know, it's whichever one is my 11th favorite, you know, like that was kind of a nice way. But I think it's better to say they're all my number one, and I love which one do you watch the most? Which one do you rewatch the most? And that's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
And I remember, oh man, like, you know, whenever someone asks me about Jedi, this is one of the things I always say. There are two things, actually. My parents got me out of school early so we can get in line, you know, for the theater. Now, that was always a thing. Like, you know, I got called on the PA system at my elementary school, and I was thinking it was third grade, I think, and so when it comes to the office, I'm like, oh no, like what did I do? And then like my mom's out there, they're like, come on, we're getting in line. I was like, this is the greatest. So we go to get in line. We stand in line for an hour or so or something like that. We get our tickets, and of course back then they were like $4. And then I grew up in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, which is a suburb right outside of Philadelphia. And we went to the King of Prussia Mall. And at the mall, one of the entrances that we walked in, there's a bookstore. They have a bunch of books, like, you know, book displays and everything out there. And as I walk by, at the corner of my eye, I see front and center the Star Wars Return of the Jedi storybook.
Right.
So my mom and my brother are walking down the hall, and I stop, and I see that, and they're still going. I see them in the distance, and I just look at it. I was like, oh, should I? Because I didn't want to spoil anything. I just like, all right, I'm just going to take a look at one. I'm going to open it up at a random page. I'm going to take a look at one thing, and that's it. I'm just one thing. So I grabbed it. I looked, put it back. What the image was Vader throwing the Emperor down the that's the thing that I saw, and I was like, oh no, what have I done? So when that moment happened in the theater, and Vader is looking back and forth between Luke and Palpatine, and, you know, figuring out what he's going to do, and I hear everyone in the theater like, come on, Darth, come on, help out your son, and I'm just standing there like,
here it comes. Yeah. Yep. That was the equivalent now of all the stories you hear about people walking out of the theater after like Force Awakens, and somebody going, I can't believe they did this, and all the people waiting in line to go in are like, are you kidding me? Like, what just happened? Except you did it to yourself, so maybe that even makes it worse.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a really great story. I saw, and I feel like, and this is an interesting thing, because to be our age, I think it actually makes a lot of sense that Jedi is ultimately, you know, we're not saying favorite, but your favorite. Like, it's the one you rewatch, it's the one you love because of the age and when you saw it. Like, Empire came out in 80. I was 2.5 years old. Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie. I say it all the time because I'm one of those very typical Star Wars fans. But also, and I don't give enough credit to Return of the Jedi, but it is also, I was that right age. Like, that's the one I saw in the theater. We actually saw it at a drive-in movie theater in the back of my parents' station wagon in Central Illinois, where I grew up. And so it has, like, that's the original nostalgia, the OG, if you will. Like, that's where I started. I saw the other ones because my dad had them videotaped off of HBO. You know, I remember the old Betamax tapes and that flying logo with the stars coming around the O and the whole deal. Like, man, we wore those tapes out. Yeah. But Jedi really is where it started as far as like real interaction. Because again, you have to be at a certain age before you can actually retain and remember, oh yeah, I saw this, other than, you know, it's just always been there for the first two. Right. So it makes a lot of sense that it, you know, falls into that range for a lot of fans our age, for sure. Yeah. One of the questions I ask, because this is a, you know, kind of a deep dive show, we try to pull out, you know, kind of the more ethereal and spiritual, you know, Star Wars connections and some of that kind of stuff. And I ask all of my guests, what is your Star Wars spiritual moment? When is a time in your life where you've encountered Star Wars? It could be a moment. It could be seeing it in the theater the first time. It could be, what is the thing that you can remember and put your finger on where Star Wars hit you in a way that like, oh, this is more than just a movie, or, oh, this is more than just like, what has been one of those big kind of impactful Star Wars moments for you?
That's a toughie because it's been in my DNA for forever. But
well, and I love what you said too, as you're thinking about it. I loved what you said when I started talking about that, or when you started talking about yourself. And I've actually heard you say this on another show. Star Wars is your religion. Like, and like I do have a personal Christian spiritual faith, but like right behind it, Star Wars is also my religion. Like there's so much that is ingrained in who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Whether it's moral lessons, whether it's, the deep-seated philosophy that I think I see, that I try to apply. I'm not going to lie. I go to the grocery store and I use my hand to force open the automatic grocery doors every time I go. But that may be a different other weird thing. But when you said that, and like I said, I've heard you say that on another show before, like, that's a legitimate thing. And so, it does hit on a different level. Can you put your finger on a moment in particular?
I probably have to put all 10 on scattered moments where it just enforced my love of it. But
sure.
I think, I've been to maybe 3 or 4 Star Wars celebrations.
Okay.
And just seeing everyone coming together to enjoy this thing that we all love. Like my buddy Will and I drove out twice to Indianapolis.
Okay.
For a Star Wars celebration, and had an amazing time. And just, we became tighter as friends and made other friends while we were there. And probably Chicago was probably like the best time. Chicago.
That's awesome.
Celebrate Chicago.
Yeah.
I think, all right. So there was a time when I was in the 5th grade, which was probably my worst year, my worst school year.
Okay.
Because that was at a point where kids stopped being, like oh, I like Star Wars and G.I. Joe, yada yada yada. Where I'm
you like a thing, I like a thing. We're best friends.
Yeah. And then things change. We get older. Things start happening, and interests start going in other directions, sports, this and that, blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
Whereas I was still into sports and all that stuff where I still, I got into sports. My love for Star Wars never changed. It was there. And whether it be maybe some kind of t-shirt I was wearing or, yeah, I used to bring my action figures to school with me. And I keep them in my desk and things like that. And I used to get, not bullied because I was bigger than a lot of the kids, but I get made fun of from a distance or something like that. For being a Star Wars fan, I was bullied by my teacher.
Oh wow!
Because I was a Star Wars fan, and she did her best to humiliate me as best she could because I was into Star Wars and things like that. That all that did was strengthen. Whereas it may have demolished me a little bit, like, personally, right. My love for Star Wars got stronger and never waned. So, okay. That's probably my, a rock solid moment for me.
Absolutely. I love that. We're going to dig into Return of the Jedi a little bit more. I feel like we've done a lot of setting things up. We certainly know how much you love it. For anybody that's listening to the audio podcast, our minutes for our text this week were 22:08, which is basically Han's back with Chewie. Chewie's running his paw through his hair, and he's saying, "It's all right, pal." And for some reason, him saying that always stood out to me as a kid. Him comforting Chewie, like, "Hey, we're going to be fine," even though he's blind and doesn't really know what's going on. Han's comforting Chewie, not, the other way around, it seems like.
Yeah.
But immediately after that, we get the door raising on Luke coming in, showing up at Jabba's palace, which is great. And we're going to talk about this too, is very appropriate to where we are right now with the Book of Boba Fett. Like, we're right back in this same space and we're seeing some things that tie in. So it starts there. And then this text that we're talking about tonight is going to end with Luke parting ways with Han and Leia and the crew in space, where he's heading back to Dagobah to check in with Yoda as he had promised. And Leia tells him, be careful. And he says, I will. And they head in their different ways. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So, Chris, there's a lot in these minutes. There is Luke showing up, the dark, mysterious stranger you talked about, black suit Luke. We get the confrontation with Jabba. We get the Rancor battle. We get the Sarlacc pit, and we get, kind of the ultimate victory there. So that's what we're looking at. Those are what our minutes are. So let me ask you this, and we kind of use the same 3 guiding questions as we go along. The first question is, what is the text telling us in these minutes? What are the things that you see that you feel like our story is saying to you as we watch these minutes?
I remember first seeing it. I thought, since he's all in black, maybe he's embracing that Vader is actually his father, and just seeing Luke was so different as compared to where we left him off in Empire Strikes Back, and I wonder how much of the dark side was with him. Like when he's confronted by the 2 Gamorrean guards and he just force chokes him, them both away. I'm like, wow, what happened to Luke? And, he's so confident and he's very sure of himself, sure of his abilities, got a handle on everything going on. So different from the headstrong, I don't care, I got to go save my friends and got himself in even worse trouble, Luke, that we saw in Empire Strikes Back. So those are like my initial thoughts, like, from that timestamp. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and I think you're exactly right. There's a developed Luke, and we have the deleted scenes, which of course we love from Return of the Jedi. We get Luke in a random cave somewhere putting a lightsaber together. We get the sandstorm, which is after when they're leaving, right?
Yeah.
Them getting back in the ships, that kind of stuff.
So stoic.
Oh, it's very stoic. And it's really interesting because one of the big questions always was, until of course some, nerd like one of us figured it out, was what was the time jump between the end of Empire and where we are in Jedi? How much has gone on? And I think the general consensus is it was about a year, right? Yeah,
it's like a year, 18 months, I think.
We get this Luke that shows up. And so what I see, the first thing I feel like the text is telling us, even if we're not ready to receive it, is the text is telling us you're getting an evolved character. You're getting somebody who has developed, and you hit on it with what you said. How evolved is the question? We get Black Suit Luke. I'll be honest, as a kid, the choking the Gamorrean guard as he comes in thing, like that didn't hit me as, oh, he's doing a Darth Vader thing. That hit me as Luke coming in, just kind of moving his hand and the guard being scared. I don't know why that was the thing that hit me. It wasn't I didn't take it as him being choked. I took it as being like, oh, he's intimidated. Almost like an Obi-Wan mind, confusion kind of thing. For whatever, wherever my head was when I saw that as a kid. And so as I got older, I was like, oh, crap, maybe he was choking. And so we get right away, dark figure doing the choky thing. What's going on here?
Yeah.
What I feel like I see in this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, is because I know you told me before we came on air, there's been fleshed out a lot of Luke's mindset and where he is and what he's going through between Empire and this part of Jedi.
Yeah.
But what I see in this is he shows up kind of full of that bravado. He's in the dark suit. He's got the hood. He's confident. But as soon as Jabba hits that button and he falls down in the Rancor pit, I feel like he jumps back for a minute.
Yeah.
Like he looks scared.
Yeah.
And so he gathers his... And so what I'm seeing out of this, and I guess what it's telling me is, in the evolution of this, is a character who's being tried by fire, or Rancor in this case. Like, we have so much in deep Jedi and deep Star Wars lore about the trials. You run a trial before you can become a Jedi Knight.
Absolutely.
He shows up and he announces himself as a Jedi Knight. And because I haven't read the comic books, I don't necessarily know, where he got the idea that, okay, I'm a Jedi Knight. but he says it in the video that plays, to Jabba and all of that. But if you have to complete a trial in order to be, knighted a Jedi, I feel like this was the trial that we got to witness. We get to watch Luke without his lightsaber, mostly with his wits, because apparently he's not going to force choke a rancor. Yeah. He's got to stick a bone in its mouth, throw a rock at a button to make a door fall on his head. And he gets out of that moment, and then we get him again on the other side, standing on that gangplank, about to walk off the edge, confident, tipping his hat, and kicking ass and taking names. So what I feel like the text is telling us initially is there's an evolution at play, and there's something to learn from that. Yeah. How does that hit you? Absolutely.
I think when Luke, when it was a hologram, and he said, like, allow me to introduce myself. I'm Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight and friend of Captain Solo. I think that was put in there as, I think he may have said that. And I think he knows he's still not a full-fledged Jedi yet. He's the first of this new crop of Jedi, but not a fully realized Jedi Knight yet. Because what we see in the comics is he's going around to these different worlds and everything, and he's trying to find any kind of artifact or any kind of, a holocron or anything to learn more. And this issue that comes out this week, he is able to, through the Force, through like these weird means through the Force, speak to a member of the Jedi Order from the High Republic, which is really cool. And all this does is help shape him, and I see it happening, shaping him towards that Luke that we see coming forward. But it's a bit of a facade that he puts on, even though he is still very stoic. He is confident in his skills and just a more well-balanced person when we see him. But something turns, when he gets dropped into the other Rancor pit, and he's like you said, he's got to survive by his wits. R2's got his lightsaber. This is definitely a trial by fire, because even he, like I said, even he knew he wasn't full-fledged Jedi yet, because when skipping ahead a little bit, when he when he talks to Yoda. And he says, then I am a Jedi, and he was like, no, not yet. This is your real trial that's about to happen. Yeah. I really like that. And I really like the idea that for the training he's done, for the time he spent seeking out other knowledge, because at this point, up to here and up to what we're going to get really in the next segment of the movie, he's still got Yoda. That's about to change, obviously, and we know that. But like you said, the new era, first of all, there's really not anybody there to declare him a Jedi Knight other than Yoda. At this point. And it doesn't seem like, based on the interactions we get with Yoda and Empire, which is the last time we see them going back and forth, that he's going to just throw that around at Luke like, hey, man, you're totally ready. Let's roll. Yoda's going to... Good. Truth be told, like I said, between Empire and Jedi, he doesn't have Yoda either. It's just him.
He leaves when he leaves an Empire, and he doesn't come back until what we see in Jedi.
There's that. He's sort of been cut off by Obi-Wan, and also by Yoda. Right. So because he left before his training was complete. That's right. And
they warned him about that. They warned him. Kind of I told you so. Here you go. You made your sandwich. You're going to eat it now.
Yeah, eat that sandwich. He had to stumble around the galaxy to find his way, and even after Empire, like in the books that Charles Soule masterfully did, his connection to the Force is shaky, very shaky. Like he's sort of cut off for a bit, and then as time goes on, and he's learning more about the Force, these different people and situations, and finding out information, he starts to get that connection back. And now, after the whole War of the Bounty Hunters thing, he's back on his quest.
Our second question is, what is our text asking of us? And so the first thing is it's telling us something. It's telling us, here's this new Luke who's developed in a different way. What is it asking of you as the watcher, as Chris Ryons, as you're watching these minutes of this movie? What is it asking from you?
Found family is important.
Okay.
Considering what Leia and Luke, Lando, a lot of L's.
Absolutely.
R2, 3PO, and 3PO had no idea what was going on because he would have ruined the whole thing. And Chewie, what they're doing to get Han back, and what they go through to get Han back, and I just love that they just have this family dynamic, and they will do what they have to do no matter how long it takes, because it took them 1.5 years to get to this point.
Sure.
And there's a reason why, and of course, read the comics, people, so you find out why. There's that it took them this long to be able to get him back, or get a good plan to get him back, and went through all the dangers, going against Jabba and his goons, risking going into the Starlight Pit, fighting Boba Fett, all that stuff. It just shows me, there's so much love there that is, it's like damn near, it's like intangible, it's like type of love that they all have for one another to go through this, to get back their friends.
I love that. And we talked about Rebels a bunch. The big thing for me, one of the biggest things with me for Rebels, is found family, and
Absolutely.
Star Wars is found family. And we talk about that so much, and it's not a cliche because it's real. I think for me, what I pulled out of this text and what I pulled out of these moments was the text is asking me as the viewer, as the consumer of the text, not a product consumer. It's asking me to believe that there's more coming, that there's something better ahead, because what we get is technically it kind of doesn't open with Han and Chewie, but that's kind of where the minute hits. Han and Chewie are still in jail. They're still trapped.
Yeah.
Leia's still tied to Jabba. Lando is there, and I loved all the different little cheesy Lando nod moments throughout all of this, like pulling the mask down, Luke making the eyes at him while they're on the sail barge. Luke makes the eyes at him at one point. He's like, "Oh yeah," and then I stopped and realized he does never do anything that really relates to that look. Throughout this whole scene, or through these whole minutes, it's asking us to believe there's something else coming. There's a part, and I can't remember if it cuts off from the first minutes or if it's in this section, but Chewie's telling Han, Luke's doing this, and we get the line, Han goes, Luke's crazy.
Yeah, can't even take care of himself, much less rescue anybody.
Yeah, much less rescue anybody.
Yeah.
So we're being told hey, help is coming, and hey, there's something else on the way, which speaks to everyday life. When we all hit a low, when we all hit a bottom, when we're all dealing with a low part of life, part of what life and part of what our friends do for us, whether they're our friends or our found family. At my house, we tend to call them family. They're the friends that we're close to more than our actual family.
I like that.
But those are the people that say, hey, you need to hang in there because there's something else coming. There's something better on the other side of whatever we're dealing with. So there's something better on the other side of being chained to Jabba the Hutt. There's something better than being in the bottom of that damp, leaky, wet basement. There's something better than what those things were. And we get that because after the Rancor moment, and he's like, oh, okay, he won. And of course, immediately they grab him and throw him in a jail cell, and they show up on the sail barge and start doing that whole thing. So it's these continual moments, but when we come out of the other side of the Rancor pit, Luke is confident again. It's like he did a dip and he came back out on the other side of it. He's confident. He's standing on that thing. He's telling Jabba, you're going to be sorry. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
And Jabba says, go ahead, put him in. Yeah. So he does the tip. R2 throws the saber. We get the fake missed kick, which is so great because Boba flies by in the background.
Right.
And it's everybody's favorite, moment that plays on Twitter forever and ever. But it's telling us, I feel like it's telling us in those moments when things are low and bleak, there's something else coming. We've got to hang on. That's what I pull out of these moments kind of as the big, if I was to assign a theme to it, the theme would likely be hope for more, hope for something coming on the other side. Your bad day right now, there's a good day coming right behind it.
Yeah. And your friends are going to help you get there, and
your friends are going to be the ones that get you there.
Yeah. Like, one of Luke's lines, and it's even as a kid, it was kind of weird to see him in that much control.
Right.
When he says to Han, he says, just stick close to Luke, Chewie, and Lando. I've taken care of everything. That's your friends having your back. And there's nothing better. Like, I went through something recently, and Dan and Jackson had my back. And I wasn't expecting that. I didn't ask for it, but they had my back. And that's like, an amazing feeling. That
says everything. And I feel like, again, the Star Wars community, if I can harp on Found Family, and if I can harp on even our little corner of Star Wars internet and Star Wars Twitter, we're seeing those same things with Star Wars Eclipse. We're seeing those same things with this game and these questionable, hurtful decisions that a company has made with a property that we all desperately love that doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And as we're dealing with, the consequences of that, hoping to get a response out of that, but this community coming together to support each other, because I'm not a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but people that I dearly love are. And I want to be there for those. This doesn't affect me. Pete said it on Twitter today. He said, David Cage and Quantic Dreams and the things that have been problematic with them don't necessarily reflect him, but it affects people that he cares about. And so we have to speak up. And that's what family does. Family speaks up even when, it's not about me, but it's about people I love, and you don't mess with my people. Yeah. Like we're very tribalistic.
And I've, for me, and I'm not part of the LGBTQ plus community, but being a part of a marginalized people.
Absolutely.
I absolutely get, and like, as far as like my family goes, I've got plenty of family members who are gay. So I've been around it my entire life.
Same.
But, so when something like that happens, and this is why I don't understand, like, any person of color who is against, the LGBTQ community,
right?
Because I'm like, don't you realize that that's pretty much us?
It's the same thing. Like, what are we talking about here?
And if David Cage and I don't, like, I know of he said that we don't make games for F words,
right?
Now, all I have to do to get in my mindset of that is be like, if he had said, we don't make games for N words.
Right.
I'm like, it's that simple. Yeah. So as soon as that, that happened, like, listen, I was so excited when I saw that trailer. I was like, oh, what is this? Oh, it's in a High Republic. Oh, it's in a Quantic Dream. Oh no, this is going to be ugly. This is not good. Oh man. I was like, damn it. I wanted to play that game.
So close, yet so far away.
Like, I wanted to play that game so bad. Well, like, I'm not supporting that now. And the fact that it's in the High Republic era, the most diverse era, it's in print and everything. So, I mean, we still got a little ways to go with that, but it's so well spread out. You can't throw a rock without hitting someone of a person of color or anything like that in the High Republic era, and I think that's amazing. And the people of all the different denominations, and it's fantastic. So that the fact that this person who's linked with this company, or this company who is linked with that person, is putting out a game in that era, it's kind of
it adds insult to injury, really.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an elbow in the gut, big time.
No doubt. Well, we have one last question as we kind of look at this canon setting, as we look at these minutes. And the question is, where's our text sending us from here? So if we're heading out from this study, if we're heading out into the world, we're heading out into life as we encounter it, what are these moments telling you, or what are these moments giving you that you're going to take with you when you leave?
You're not alone.
That's right. That's exactly what I had in my head as well. You're not alone, and there's always something. There's something else on the other side.
Yeah,
I've been through stuff in my life. You've been through stuff in your life. We've been through those difficult moments, but there always ends up being something on the other side. And more than half the time, you look back on that thing you went through with some time, with some distance, with that found family, with your real family, whoever it is that helped you get there. And you look back on that thing and go, okay, so it wasn't, here I am, I'm survived, I'm good, what's next?
Yeah.
And that's what we get in these moments, because the scene ends with Luke parting ways with the original crew.
Yeah.
Which, a favorite argument of people about the sequel trilogy is how all the splitting up and this, this group went here and this. It happens in every era of Star Wars,
and everyone has to go their own way to get there.
They were all together in Star Wars, and then in Empire they split up, and then in Return of the Jedi they were together, they split up, and they go back together. Yeah, what do we get in the sequels? 7 together, 8 split up, 9 together, back together. Yeah. Like it's they know what they're doing, and we should just let them do it at some point.
Let them do their thing. Yeah, they're telling the story. Let them tell the story.
Yeah, but for me, going forward from all of it is exactly what you said. You're better together. You're going together. And the next thing you're going to approach it together. Luke and Leia part ways. And she tells him, hey, be careful. And he does that kind of smug because he's confident Luke again. He's like, I will. And then he goes, he sees Yoda. They have their moment. But I love when he returns in the Jedi or the indoor briefing before they go to indoor. That's that cocky way he's coming down those stairs, and he's kind of, doing this like, yeah, I'm here. Let's go.
Just interrupt the meeting, like, yeah, and I'm with you too. You can see,
and I'm with you too.
We're just like, look at this guy.
Yep, had to make a dramatic entrance.
Yeah.
Well, I love that so much, and I do think that the thread of found family really does feed through all of our questions and feeds through these moments because. We've got Lando. We haven't talked a ton about Lando, who's, of course, near and dear to your heart as the modern day voice of Lando Calrissian.
Oh, boy.
We get Lando being a part of this crew and being a found part of this family. He was sketchy at best the last time we saw him. But now here he is in disguise, having recently been wearing Han's clothes as he flew away at the end of Empire.
It could have been his clothes.
Maybe Han got his style from Lando. We don't know.
Could be good,
But he's fully integrated into this crew, and he's here to help his friend, and he's here to help his new friends that he has found and have found him, and they found each other. So that absolutely is powerful. It's a reflection of everyday life. It's a reflection of our Star Wars and social media, Twitter, podcasting life.
Absolutely.
We find each other, these groups, and we have each other's back. And while things may be low right now, the next thing that we're all going to encounter together is going to be good because we're together. And I think that's a perfect mirror of what we see in these minutes and what we've talked about tonight.
Absolutely.
Chris, any parting thoughts about Return of the Jedi that you have? Anything else that you want to profess your love about? Things that stand out?
For me, and I'm not the best descriptive speech kind of person. There is just a feeling that I get when and it's on the screen, like I'm watching on my one of my monitors right now. Just a sail barge just blew up. There you go.
Nice.
There is a feeling that I get that is unlike anything else on this planet, as far as just for Star Wars, and I can't put a finger on it. It's just something, and it's home. That's what Star Wars is to me, and Return of the Jedi in particular. It's just that is home. That is my happy place. And I always say that, and this is it's one thing that upsets me about some portions of the fandom. You guys are screwing with my happy place right now.
Don't do it.
don't screw with my happy place. But it's just Star Wars is just that is my home. That is one of the loves of my life for sure.
I love that so much. Well, as we get out of here, tell everybody where we can find you. You have a bunch of different stuff going on. Give us all the plugs. Give us how folks can connect up with you because you do so much and you do it so well.
Thank you. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Ryons. And the last name is Ryons. First name is Chris. You can find me also at Broaxium. Same thing. And that's across, Facebook. No. Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube at Broaxium. You can find us there as well. We got a few different shows going on right now. Currently, Shooting the Poodoo is on. I'm watching my people right now. Shooting the Poodoo is our weekly live podcast where we just hanging out and I'm watching them act a fool. Tuesdays for the Book of Boba, we're doing a top 3 moments. So every Tuesday we put out a video, Dan and I, with the top 3 moments of every Book of Boba episode, and it's called the Book of Broba, because Broaxium, because and on Wednesdays we have our Quick Shots, which is our mainstay show, is our first show, and that is a preview comics preview show for Star Wars books. And we give you a little bit on what the comic's about, just to get people hyped, and hopefully they'll go to the comic shop and pick up these books, because it's an amazing area of Star Wars storytelling, and I want as many people in our community to grab these books, because they are important. And people do write it off because it's not the movies or the TV shows, but they're just as important. And the stories are, hot take, sometimes better than the movies.
Imagine that. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Podcast of the Whills. An extra special thank you to my guest, Chris Ryons, for all of his wonderful insight. And thank you to you for listening and being a part of the Podcast of the Whills family. We always appreciate you tuning in, engaging with us on social media. And thank you to all of you who are a part of this new effort between me and Pete and the Around the Galaxy podcast under the ATG Cast feed. So remember, you can be a part of our Patreon at patreon.com/ATGcast, which allows you to be a part of our live recordings when we record Around the Galaxy or Podcast of the Whills, and also gives you early insight and access into these episodes before they drop. So check that out. Be sure to follow Podcast of the Whills on all of your social medias at WhillsPod. And as always, may the Force be with you.